Call the meeting to order. If everyone would please rise, face the flag, and if so inclined, join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll wait for our backup band to be seated.
She's probably still on the scene.
Okay. How'd that go this weekend?
What's that?
The Wisconsin teams, how'd they do?
They did terrible. They were at the game.
I'm feeling bad for you.
3 minutes. So.
Okay. On the agenda items, we will remove number 3, the scheduled presenters. That would be in Mr. Hodges' camp, and he isn't able to make it due to illness. So we'll defer that one. Does anyone have anything else they would like to add or amend? If not, I would look for a motion to approve the agenda with amendment.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Jerry, second by Kurt. Other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Public input. Does anyone have anything for the district? Any concerns, any issues that you'd like to bring forth at this time? Moving on. Consideration to approve the finance report. Mr. Davison.
There's the quick major one pager again. Just to kind of go through the highlights of it. Isn't really nothing too major in there, but so the top you see the bank account balances where we're at.
Josh, why don't you come down?
Yeah.
We're having
We're
trouble.
gonna go here.
Right there.
Yeah, perfect. In my voice, man, I'm just kind of losing that the first week of practice. So the top of the form, you'll see the cash flow where we're at as far as the bank balance, community resource, and merchants checking. But the kind of things to note through here, at the top first part, you see the Goodhue County taxes, and that's the cleanup. There's usually 2 payments that come, one at the end of October, a large one at the beginning of November, and then roughly the end of November, beginning of December, there's a final cleanup payment. And that's an estimate. Once we get the actuals from the county, I'll plug that into our cash flow. A little bit further down the line, you'll see bus lease payment 3 of 5 on bus number 12. Just try to label it in there so you can see as a board which buses are being paid for and where they are in the process of paying down those liabilities for the buses. Generally now when we purchase buses, rather than purchase them outright, we'll buy them on a lease and get a few more buses at one time when we can. So we could have 5 buses essentially for maybe the price of 2. Your ideas, payments are there, payments that we get from the state aid. But kind of want to note in the middle here, elementary roof. Remember, it's considered a lease. When we redid the roof at the elementary school, we're getting close to the end of that. I think there's about 5 years left on that. Don't quote me exactly on that, but we're getting closer to the end of it. And just so everyone has perspective, it's about $158,000 a year that we pay for the elementary roof lease. And most of those funds, or actually all of them, as we set up in our budget, come from the Invenergy dollars that we receive as part of a kind of a tax and root deal when the Invenergy came in. So once that were to close off, we would have a little bit of freed up funds. But that's what the elementary roof payment is for. It's really kind of a wash with our Invenergy funds that we get from revenue. Finally, down in the bottom left-hand corner, you'll see a bunch of numbers: 2017A, 2017B, 2016A, and OPEB. And those are our debt service payments. All but one of our debt service payments, our refunding is set up to be paid in the essentially the end of January, beginning of February. So what you'll see there is a significant decrease in our cash flow short term until we get our IDS payment. However, in terms of what we do on a day-to-day basis for our business, we're fine and stay positive for our capital, so we're good to go. The short and sweet version of the finance. If you have any questions, I can do my best to answer what you have here.
Is this the lowest we've been for over 931,000?
No, we've been around that $1 million mark. So there really is a time issue there. So you'll see the payroll on the 30th The idea is that it comes in the same day. If I were to put the ideas payment in front of it, then you don't see it dip down to that $500,000. It really is a timing issue on the cash flow. And from there, as we go up, we'll hit over the $1 million mark. In terms of what we do for cash, that's about 1 month worth of bills. A $12 million budget, $1 million roughly equates to that. In terms of fund balance, we know that that's a little bit lower because that includes all funds, not just the general fund. But in terms of cash, we're at as a business, we're all right.
Josh, just for clarification, last week we told we were sitting at, what were we in the general fund with the audit?
Yep, so I'll send out something to the whole board as clarification for that. And if you have any certain questions of me, you can respond to it, but I'll send something out. But I think where we get a little stuck on is the general fund balance in total in itself. We're at about 6.2, 6.25 roughly. But then there's the undesignated fund balance, and that is truly free and clear whatever you choose to do. And that's at 5%. But really, when we have designated funds within the general fund, those are dollars that we budget for within the programs in the district. So the truer number to look at really is at 6.2. Is that a little concerning? A little bit, because we'd like to be in that 8 to 10 to 12%. That would really be more ideal for what we want to do.
So when we were talking about that with the budget before, and we were looking at positions and stuff.
Yep.
Were we dealing with the undesignated fund balance as well, or were we looking at that? Because we were sitting at, I thought we were sitting at 8.5. I'm just trying to get
We
clarification.
were until we brought back like the first grade teacher and some of those things. Remember, we made reductions to get us there, and then we ended up having to call some of those back.
With the reductions, weren't we still at 8.5%? And that's what we agreed? But then, if we brought that one teacher in, that still wouldn't bring us down to 6.5, would
I
it?
remember us ever being at 8.2.
So just a little bit of history on that. At the end of last fiscal year of our audit, we were about 6.3.5, 6.4% for general fund balance. And that's total, not just undesignated, but total. And when we met in a finance meeting, we put some numbers together, trying to get built back up to 8.5. And we just kind of showed what kind of reductions or the amount of reduction we have to do in order to get to that. And remember, in order for our fund balance to grow, we have to have revenue over expenditures. So anytime that we present a balanced budget, you're just going to stay where we're at. And essentially, that's what we've done this last fiscal year. Our budget essentially balanced. We actually came out with about $8,000 to the good, but in a $12 million budget, that's hardly anything. Fund balance is based on your total expenditures. When your expenditures increase, that fund balance total is going to decrease. So what we're looking at is we present a balanced budget. When we revised the budget, it was balanced again. So we were kind of looking at it, it's probably going to stay at that 6.4, 6.2%. The only way for us to increase that, and we'll have to look at that when we're talking either in board committee meetings or finance meetings, if we're truly set on getting to 8.5%, there has to be a real either increase in revenue or a reduction in expenditure. We have to have revenues greater than expenditures. And
that
that'd be something we build in the budget at some point too. And our goal is to get to here, so we're going to make sure we have a revenues over expenditures, like say $100,000, whatever our goal is in the finance meeting. But there would have to be a set goal that we're going to.
We'll kick that off tonight with one of the resolutions that we'll have, and then we'll have our finance meeting in January. And we'll kind of start that whole process and making sure, hearing where you want to be at. And that was our goal last year, and we were able to get there. But when we start bringing things back in, that fluctuates that as well. We do have an increase in enrollment, but then they move out too. So we've got a little bit of that going on too.
I think the hard when it comes to balance is trying to be fiscally responsible, which I think in general our board very much is. I mean, we're not extravagant in anything. We're not spending it way down to where we're in SOD. Balancing with what we want to do for the best for the kids and the staff in the building. Make sure that contracts are right. Make sure that students are getting what they need and programs are offered. So there's a balancing act there too. But if the goal truly is to get at 8.5%, then there's going to have to be some decisions to make. Yep.
And the second part of that question, our finance committee meeting that we're already starting to kind of compile for that January is again looking at those referendums and making sure that we're in line, because we are one of the lowest ones and always have been, but we really want to be good stewards of the taxpayers' money too, and just want to make sure we're balancing that out. So there'll be a lot of decisions that we're making in January as far as where we want to go with things. But if 8.5, 10 is where Josh and I like to be as well. So but we always seem like we're right around that 6, can't quite get away from it.
Any other questions for Josh? If not, I'd like to have motion to approve the finance report?
I'll make the motion.
Kurt on the motion,
I'll second.
seconded by Rob. Further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? It's carried. Consent agenda. Items under the consent agenda are considered routine and will be enacted under one motion. In the event a board member wants to discuss any item, we can remove it from the consent agenda for a separate action. So, any questions on what you've seen when you got your board report?
It's usual that they're really light this month. I mean, it's pretty normal to have very few hires this time of year. The personnel report's very gifts, this is not a common time to be getting those, so they're pretty light. But if you have any questions on monthly bills or anything like that, again, pretty standard, but
Yeah, maybe just 56,436. What is a severance payment for American United Life?
So, contractually, teachers have been here for over 20 years, and depending on how much they put into their TSA through nice reduction from the district, they get that paid out in two payments. One happens the November 15th after retirement, and the other one follows a year after, or January.
they break them up further.
Personnel items are light.
Yeah, that's a good thing. We do still have openings for bus pairs, if you know of anyone. We're still taking applications for those positions.
A question on 56,428, that acoustical solutions.
Yep.
That's for the auditorium.
You know,
So
there's
those
actually band room
panels.
that's
On the panel.
paid for donation by the foundation. Yep.
I just wasn't sure what room
I
it
wonder
was.
if we should find a way to maybe asterisk the ones that are funded by something.
Sure.
Sometimes they
I haven't listed
stand out.
CFEF, but I can.
Yeah, you've got it in the notes, but I wonder if we should asterisk them or,
Sure.
yeah, something to make them stand out a little bit.
Any other questions concerning the consent agenda? If not, I'd look for a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion.
Jerry on the motion, Katie on the second. Further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Under action items, we have no old business. And in the new business, issuance of election certificates following the 18 election results.
This is just that follow-up, it should be in your packet. There's nothing we need to do with it, we just need to review it. Lori put that on there, that's what she told me. It's one of her duties as a registrar.
So we have to, it's not an action item.
It is not. Josh, am I correct on that? Lori said that's not an action item?
Right.
Correct, okay.
Not sure we need to do anything else for this.
We can do that if you want to, but she said it doesn't have to take action if we don't want to. Yeah, you might as well, so it's on there.
If we don't know, we would put next meeting.
Is this the next
You've
one down?
already canvassed the elections.
This is two.
Oh, no, I was saying that.
Oh, the next one is the resolution.
Oh.
Yeah, the next one. Okay, moving down, consideration to approve the resolution directing administration to make recommendations for reductions in programs and positions and reasons therefore.
Right, and just so the community knows, this does not mean we're immediately going in directions. You guys have done this every year. It's really important to have this resolution in place so that the administrative team, we can kind of start that process, what we want to bring to the finance committee. It's really important that we just kind of look at everything. Look at our numbers this year. Jake will be a part of that as far as athletics and activities go. We just kind of look under every stone again, just to make sure. Some of that might be looking at some of our contracted services, you know, some of those things we've already started. So this truly is not, we're making reductions rather than you giving us permission to start moving in that direction.
So we need a motion and a second,
And then a roll.
and then a reading and a roll call, right? Motion to approve the resolution.
Make a motion.
Motion by Brenda,
I'll second.
seconded by Jerry. Further discussion? Okay, ma'am, would you read the resolution?
Okay, roll call for the resolution directing administration To make recommendations for reductions in programs and positions and reasons therefore. Rob,
Yes.
Katie,
Yeah.
Brenda, yes, Bob,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Kurt.
Yes.
Okay, that passes by a 6-0. Moving on, consideration to approve the final list of 19, I guess it should be, winter assistant coaches. Jake, do you want to speak to that?
Sure. If you remember last time, we had 2 spots that were listed as to be determined. It is a boys basketball position and a girls basketball position. They're both listed on that agenda now with names and their background checked and everything like that, so everything's good on that end. Just looking for approval on the very bottom boys basketball one and then the very bottom girls basketball one.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2 positions that Jake mentioned.
I'll second.
Motion by Rob, seconded by Kurt. Other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is carried. Consideration to approve the 19 band and choir trip to Chicago.
As our policy clearly states, anytime our students leave the state of Minnesota, we review the itinerary with you. This one is pretty standard. I know our student has gone on this trip before. Several of our kids in the room will be going on this trip as well. If you have any questions on the itinerary, I can certainly help you with that. The cost, how it's broke down. It does end up, they can do some fundraising that you've seen for this. It is a really neat trip for the kids. I like that they actually perform while they're there. I think that's a neat thing, and they do experience a lot of musical type things in Chicago, so.
What if a student would want to go but can't afford to?
We have a scholarship fund. We have what we call an angel fund. That fund can cover anything from something Jake comes forward and says, there's a student that needs, they may not qualify, for the regulations of free and reduced, but they might be in a hardship situation or a parent has lost a job or something like that. We make sure everyone that wants to go goes. That's a priority.
How many students will be involved with this?
50. About 50.
It says assuming 50
Should go over.
And where do we get chaperones for situations like this?
It's not difficult. We ask the parents, typically parents of students that are on the trip. We also have 2 band teachers and a choir teacher, so it ends up working out really well for 50 kids. Just gotta kind of have enough males and females kind of thing. So.
What grade is this for?
81, 9 through 12.
What's your recommendation to approve this?
It is my recommendation to approve it. It's a well laid out trip, and it is very reasonable for what they get to do.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Brenda to approve the trip,
I'll second.
second by Katie. Other discussion?
When would they know if they're gonna be able to perform themselves?
They have to. You guys have to approve it first. Make sure that the trip is secured, and then we'll have our notes send that to them, and then they get it all kind of finalized. It's broken up so you can see where you would most likely perform in there. But Anna, did you know ahead of time, or did you know more when you went down there?
About what?
When you were performing?
Well, we knew about when the camp was and when
Oh,
we would
okay.
perform during the camp.
Okay. So I think it comes after. We don't want to get too far ahead because you haven't really approved the trip either. So.
Okay, we have a motion, a second on the floor. Any other discussion? All in favor of approving the trip, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Consideration to approve the 17 through 19 staff development plan, policy 425.
That probably looks a little funny to you because you've already approved this plan because it was started in 17. But your policy 425, which policy committee needs to look at, Rob, it says that you need to approve it every year. So we have to follow the policy. The policy says you must approve it every year, even though it's a 2-year plan. So this next round of policy changes, we'll make sure we get that changed. Do you have a preference which way it is? Is a 2-year plan too long for you, or do you like reviewing it every year? It doesn't change a whole lot. Katie, you're on that committee. I mean, I think you could do it every 2 years and be okay with that, but you'd have to change policy 425. Or is it something you do kind of like to peek at every year?
Well, if we're able to just give it a give a cursory look. Do we get this ahead of time? Did that come in all of our?
It did, yep.
Yeah, so we have a chance to take a look at
Sure.
it.
So just keep following the policy.
I think so, and that way if
Can't
there's
hurt a
something
thing.
that's not
Sure.
working.
It would give you a chance to
look
change
at
it.
and
True.
change it before.
Or something might change,
Yep, that's true. There are no changes in that one, because they've already approved it on their end, but maybe we'll leave policy 425 alone then, that way you can look at it every year, but just know that you've already voted to approve this plan. Okay,
So this approval will be the second half of the 2-year.
correct, the 18-19 portion, but nothing has changed in there at all.
I think it's a good reminder to see it too.
It's true.
Yep.
Yearly? Yep, I agree.
Look for a motion to approve.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Motion by Katie, second.
Allison.
Seconded by Kurt. Other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That is carried. Consideration to approve Martha Bowen as a member of the Cannon Falls Ed Foundation.
It's always our policy to go ahead and approve those, and I think she's gonna be a great addition to the committee. We're really excited to have Martha, so it'd be my recommendation to approve that.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Brenda, seconded by Jerry. Other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Anna has been diligently waiting here, so I'd like to recognize her and have her tell us what's up.
Okay, so not too much has happened over the month, but the dance team did have their big showcase of what they're doing, and that also include other schools like Stewartville and Faribault. But other sports have been starting last week or today. Some middle school girls basketball started that week too, and our speech team also started today, so that was pretty good. But one big event that we had was Feed My Starving Children, where all the organizations in the schools helped set up and help volunteer. And this year we had over 200 volunteers. So the numbers rose high. And that was about it.
Thousands of meals prepared, that's.
Yeah, it was insane. And just speaking of, hats off to our custodial crew. I mean, they go above and beyond. I mean, it's a nonprofit, but they just do such a nice job of anything they need helping out. It's really nice to see.
I know that you're not on, but do you have anything for the cause at all? Like to report?
Girls basketball's got a home game tomorrow night, so they get their varsity and JV play Bedford tomorrow night. Boys go on the road at the end of the week, and dance team added an invite, so dance team will perform on Saturday at home. Kind of a last minute, they threw together an invite because they're supposed to go to Apple Valley and they canceled it. So James said, well, I'll see if I can throw one together, and they have 14 schools coming on Saturday, so something turned into something that went from maybe not even happening to 14 schools is going to be a good event for them. And wrestling has hosts on Thursday. They have Byron on Thursday, so yeah, we're on it. Winter sports are underway. So.
Okay, what's the handout?
Well, I was not here last month. Thank you for letting me miss. My dad is doing well, so thank you for letting me miss. But there is some kind of interesting data, like sharing this with you every year. It simply is class sizes in the HVL, and I think it's really something to be proud of. I think we do such an amazing job of keeping our class sizes nice and low and keeping things balanced. So there's nothing really to look at. I think it's just every year you should really look at that. With some of the decisions we made in first and second grade and those things, it's good to kind of see where the rest of the HVL is at. I do have a couple report items. Just a congratulations to Ross Peterson and Ann Davison. I wasn't here last month to tell you, but they are our Teachers of the Year. We're very, very proud of them and everything that they do for our kids. So they're two very remarkable teachers. The storm update, believe it or not, we're still working on tornado type things. I've gone to a couple meetings with the city, and we are filing kind of I guess what they call Homeland Security Emergency Systems. And some of the money that we've spent in insurance and some of those things, if we can do it as a group, there's more funding available. And some of those things down at John Birch Park and those types of things. So we're trying to really have a united front on the storm damage. And that's going really well. I don't have any numbers yet or anything like that, but it's been very, very good. And Governor Dayton's office has been very remarkable in responding. Facility issue, just so everyone's aware, you know, we have a situation in the high school kitchen that's been kind of ongoing. It's meshing the old plumbing with the new plumbing, and it's always kind of been an issue this time of year when the cold air sets in, and Jerry's going to use more technical words than I would, but the cold air sets in and some of the smells come back in. And so we've had IEA here, we've had, everyone's checked the systems, nothing's wrong, the air quality is perfect, all of those things. But we're just trying to kind of get it fixed because it's like the smell outside tonight when you walked in. No one wants to smell that. It can't hurt us, but we don't want to have to smell that either. So we're working on that a lot. World's Best Workforce, you'll be looking at that in December. I'm working really hard on that report. That's that big packet that you guys will get. If you have anything specific that you want in there, I'm really focusing on career and tech. It's been kind of a passion of mine this last year. And we still are in line, I don't have any results yet, but to get one of the big grants from the state. We'll be probably one of 2 schools. I think it'll be Chatfield and us. They would like to come start teaching the college courses here because our back area is so amazing at this point. And so is Chatfield, they're doing a nice job too. But to have 2 sites so they can come and do that. But I don't have those results yet. You'll get an email immediately when we do. And then the last thing I have is you have a ballot. It's a blue piece of paper. I need those back by the end of the night. That is your SSC representation. And that SSC does a lot for our area. So it's really important that we pick people that we know are going to support us. So other than that, again, sorry for missing the last meeting, not like me, but I appreciate you letting me be gone. And that's all I have.
So at present, we've got 1 meeting scheduled for December. Can we accomplish everything in 1 meeting?
We can. That meeting really is mostly about truth and taxation. I'll do my presentation that puts us in accordance with law. We'll make sure we're good on that. We'll close the meeting, reopen it for regular session, but I don't foresee that. December is a very light month. Most school districts do just the one for truth and taxation.
Okay. So under informational items, you can see what we've got going for the next meeting. If there's any other concerns or any information or reports that you'd like to file for our review at the next meeting, please send them to Lori, Wolf, and Beth. So anything else for the cause?
I'd just like to report the Ed Foundation raised, for Give to the Max, they raised, I think, over $10,000. So,
No kidding.
yeah, thanks to them and everyone who donated. That was really successful. It was over 15.
Brenda even tweeted that day. Or what was it that you did? I'm surprised.
I liked the
Oh yeah, that's what it was. You did great.
No, I don't know if it is.
She did it at the meeting.
My
I was like,
donation actually was the one that was selected for the
I saw that,
$5,000.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
not to brag, but
Yeah. But you were doing it.
Don't.
it was completely, I was happy with that.
Okay, at this time, we look for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Jerry. Second? Second by Katie. Other discussion? All in favor of adjourn, say aye. Aye. Opposed? We are finished.